You are listening to the voice of job seekers and also the job scam report. They'll be on both podcasts at different times. I thank you very much for joining me. Here, if you want to know more about me and what I do, you can go to thevoiceofjobseeker.com or you can go to the job scam report on Substack. Today, I got a special guest, like a crime investigator. And you're probably why I'm bringing investigators in. This is really important part of the conversation we've been having all along. Job scams are cyber crimes. And Mark Evans, company fraud hero, is a large part of what they do. Is that correct, Mark?
Yeah, so it's a big part. So just to introduce myself. So my name is Marc Evans, and I am the co-founder of Fraud Hero. And what Fraud Hero does is we help businesses and individuals prevent fraud. So we help with understanding how fraud investigations work. We help with fraud prevention so that people understand what they can and cannot do to help prevent from becoming victims of fraud. And then, so that's Fraud Hero. But in my day-to-day job, I'm also a detective in financial crimes. I've been investigating fraud crimes exclusively for the past 5.5 years. I've been with the department for about 12 years now. So I've handled all kinds of cases from identity theft to employment scams, like we're going to talk about today, embezzlement, money laundering, social engineering, you name it, I probably have my name or my hand in it at some point.
And we definitely want to hit on the social engineering part because that's a large part of why I wanted you here today because it needs to be explained in a way that people understand and can grab a hold of that concept. Because I think, first of all, I think people need to understand these job scams are crimes as much as somebody's robbing your house or has gotten into your bank, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, to a degree, like when, and we'll talk more about how these job scams happen, of course,
Right.
but it's no different than any other fraud. And it's a crime. And sometimes the job scam, you end up involving someone who doesn't even know they're participating in a scam. So you have multiple levels when it comes to these employment scams. Sometimes you're the person victimizing an individual, and you have the scammer using someone else to victimize somebody else. So there's definitely multiple levels to it.
Right. Yeah, I get the idea. A lot of people who post and say that they've been scammed, and there's few that talk about the intensive work that's done after being scammed. But I think I get the sense of that people still aren't taking it as seriously. They know that there are things they don't do, but they get lured into giving their private information, which in part, and you confirm this with me, that that people who scammers use social engineering large in part to afford to add on to information they already have. I
But
know
yeah,
there
that's it.
that you say that scammers might even have about 90% of what know more about than what you think. They have 90% of your personal information already. They're just looking to act the human to get the other 2%.
Yeah, they use the term right there, human hacking. That's exactly what social engineering is. It's just manipulating a person into giving over some confidential information or getting them to carry out an act that they shouldn't carry out. And sometimes that act can have criminal repercussions when it comes to it. And you end up dealing with someone like me. And that's the last thing you want to have to deal with. But like you said, a lot of these scams, they do have a lot of information because unfortunately, a lot of our information is already there, right?
Right.
You have all these companies with data breaches that happen probably daily. And I believe the first half of this year so far, we've probably had about 1,500 data breaches. Now we hear about the big ones, right? We hear about these, the AT&Ts and the other massive ones that have come out. I think the
Social
National Public
Security.
Data,
Yeah.
Social Security, some National Public Data had a very large one in the past few weeks.
Yep.
Ticketmaster was very big. And I think what people don't understand is the amount of information that's in it. So you have your name, your date of birth, your social security number sometimes, your phone numbers, your address. And what these scammers can do is when they have that little bit of information, they go to these websites that are run by these third party data brokers and they can just compile the rest of the information that they need. if I have 2 or 3 pieces of your information, now I can get your email address, your home address, maybe where you worked, maybe where you currently drive, how many family members you have.
Mhm.
And once I have that bit of information, now maybe you're unemployed. Because we're talking about employment scams here.
Right.
Now I know you're the perfect person for me to send a phishing email to because you're looking for work. And that's part of that social engineering. I know exactly what you're looking for. I got your email address. I know your name. I maybe know your
Right.
job history, so I know what's going to interest you. And I'm going to put out that fake text message or email to trick you into talking with me and getting more information out of you. Now, once I have the information as a scammer, what you're going to go do is they're going to go do whatever they want to do with your information. They're going to go get job loans or car loans. They're going to go, maybe get a job in your name without you using a credit card. It's all different kind of things. And that's a huge part that I think people need to understand is protecting your information is vital. Even though you think it's not, you think somebody else protecting it for you. Do everything you can to protect it yourself.
So do you feel like different programs like LifeLock and some of the protections that credit cards companies may offer to help monitor your data, your information on the dark web or third party websites, are they useful for people?
They can be because I've learned just my experiences that most people have nothing in place. Now, I'm not saying if you
Mhm.
get one of these services and that's the end all be all and your identity is safe because it's
Right.
not.
But maybe
Um,
helpful.
but it's helpful because you get those notifications. And one of the biggest things I see is no one's notified or they don't have something in place to know when their identity or their credit card or something's been used. So at least if you get the notification, you can now take the next steps very quickly to mitigate the scam from continuing.
Mhm.
And so those services can be very helpful.
So I know that when they announced a social security breach, I went ahead and froze all my credit reports, as a lot of people have been reporting. So that was basically a good move, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's free. It frees your credit for right away after that, especially your social. Because the truth about it is you don't need to have your social security number unfrozen unless you're planning on doing something like buying a house, getting a car, applying for a credit card, and actually using it at some point.
Mhm.
And it's a very simple clickable button. If you go through one or
Yeah,
three
yes.
credit bureaus or one of the services, you just go in, you hit freeze it, and until you need it again, you go in, you unfreeze it for the time being that you need it. And if once you're done, say you're purchasing a home, once the home purchase is done and you've gone through the whole process, freeze it again,
Yeah.
and it
Yep.
protects you.
That's good because when I went to do it, I found out that Experian has an app, has to you do the initial information and then you just slide the button and it's frozen. The other two, you just go in, create an account, and that's the first thing he asks you. You want to freeze the account. I don't know if they changed the way it operated over time, but it makes it real easy and it's real easy to find on the web. So those who are listening, if you haven't done that yet, it's probably a good idea at this particular point, especially since the breach just happened a couple of weeks ago. They said nearly 3 million numbers were exposed. You can argue whether yours was or not, but it's one out of 3 people basically is worldwide that's happening to.
Yeah, and this is the first semester just ever. And listen, I deal with a lot of these cases. I think over the time that I've been working as a detective, I've probably investigated well over 5,000 cases. And what would normally happen is the first thing I ask somebody when they say, "Hey, someone stole my identity, someone's got my credit card with check, someone stole my mail," they go, "Have you checked your credit report?" And a lot of times, none of them. A lot of times, I'll say some of them do, but many of them don't. And
Mhm.
sometimes I've had it when they do, and they go to find out they have 20 accounts already in their name that they have no idea that they have been created. And these are system scammer trying to open up credit card loans, get bank accounts, get cars, all kind of things in their name. Because at the end of the day, the scammer doesn't care. It's not their information. They're looking to profit from it.
And I think it leads to how they're getting that information to be you. They're impostering you. So a scenario that has been brought to light recently is how companies are looking at a way to prevent AI tools and different bots and different technologies that could have a fake employee. Because the other side of it is that they were able to uh, make it be you, they can actually use the same tactics to fool employees to get, which has already happened already, that
Yeah.
they can actually have them send money to the scammer without them realizing that person is not really an employee.
Yeah, and I've seen it in multiple ways. So I've seen
Okay.
exactly what you're talking about. I remember the case that happened probably, I think it was earlier this year, where the employee was on a Zoom call or a Teams call. I forget which platform he was
Yeah.
using. And he thought he was talking to all of his executive staff. Uh, and they
Right.
ended up, it was all an AI deepfake. And he ended up sending off $25 million, I believe. And I've seen that happen in many of my cases. But what I've also seen is not just like the business email compromise where someone's sending off money somewhere else or a wire transfer. I've also seen the in-person impersonation scams where I've
Mm.
seen someone or a business get a phone call and the scammer will socially engineer and coerce a person into delivering the money to a person who they believe is maybe a lawyer for the business. So it goes beyond just, hey, I hit a button and sent money off. You have some people who are gathering money within their business, walking out the door, delivering it to another person who they believe works for the business, and then come to find out 30 minutes later that they were tricked. And now the business sometimes is out of maybe a couple $1,000. So I've seen to well over $1 million.
Yeah. And there's all kinds of movies that have been reimagined and all that. But a lot of people is not particularly the face that they're going to connect with the information. They're going to connect the right information with the information they have to exploit, or better yet, the person on the other side said, okay, they have all the right information. I have no reason why to let them in into this private domain. But I think as well, the other part of it too is that people can actually be scammers, well, imposters. They will try to apply perhaps in your name or my name to a whole bunch of jobs and maybe multiple times, and get the person information or that person blacklisted on all these companies. They wonder why they can't find the right job or find their
Yeah.
dream job because already the scammer has tried to get in multiple times and made you look really bad. So I think those kind of things are even scarier, that it could put a big pause on your future.
Yeah. The last thing you want is someone going around and first name you. That's your reputation. Your name gets
Yeah.
out that, hey, this person's a possible scammer. They put you on some website or something. And it's not you. It looks bad. And they say you can't go get your dream job. And you
Right.
think of someone who is even in a higher rated position, like a law enforcement agency, a government official, a CEO, and that goes out. Hey, someone's going around impersonating me. So that looks bad on the person. So that's the last. That's
Right.
one of that. That's why it's so important to protect your information. And there's a bunch of different avenues that you can do to protect your information. Like
Mhm.
you said earlier, there's businesses that specialize in hiding your information or you're moving it from the internet. There's ways you can do it yourself, but it's your identity is, they say, your full reputation. If someone gets a hold of that, the recovery process is pretty difficult sometimes.
Yeah. 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 I think that's crucial even for our next part of our discussion. We'll talk a little bit about social engineering. I know you've got a schedule you got to run, but a little bit about social engineering. And I think we've already went over the very basics of it, but how much does the public doesn't realize how it's being used against, it could be used against them if they're not vigilant and educating themselves.
I think the biggest thing about it is if you can't stop what you don't. I say it all the time.
Mhm.
And if you're not aware of what a social engineering scam is, then how are you going to stop it? And if you are not aware of how many or the different avenues that your information or you can be compromised, then it's going to happen. Because it is human hacking. One thing about people is we're all emotional. And so social engineering feeds off emotion, it feeds off fear, it feeds off
Mhm.
greed, it feeds off happiness. And it's just the way we're hardwired. Our brain is hardwired to react to certain things in certain ways, react to fear in certain ways. And that's one of the biggest emotions that social engineering will use to carry out a scam. And I think, like I said, the biggest thing is understanding like the different ways. And so if we break down the different ways, just a few different ways, like one of the biggest ones, everyone knows about phishing, right?
Right.
You hear that term all the time, but in recent years, probably more so over the past decade, it's become a thing where now it's becoming even more a thing. But the thing after the pandemic happened is or vishing and smishing. And vishing is essentially voice phishing. And they're making a phone call, pretending to be someone else. Sometimes they're spoofing a phone number, so the phone number looks legitimate. They make it look like it's coming from your bank or look like it's coming from your business, but it's not. They have some information. They talk you into giving the 6-digit passcode because they're trying to get into your bank account. And what you believe is the bank because it showed up on your phone number that, hey, it's whichever ABC bank. The same thing with smishing, which is like SMS text messaging. So it's text phishing. And whenever we've all gotten those text messages that say, hey, you got a fraud on your account. we got this video of you, and they want you to click on that link. And that link can lead to several things. It can lead to a fake website. It can lead to downloading malware on your device. And the one thing I've been trying to preach, especially a lot lately, is when you see these things that they look legitimate, but they're out of the blue, just pause, think, and verify. Take that time to just think, sit there and just take a minute, pause and go, okay, do I really have fraud on my account? Should I click on this link? So how about not clicking on the link and let me go to my actual bank app or actual bank website and then verify if I have fraud on my account? Maybe go set up alerts on your account so that way you get a legitimate one. You know what a real one looks like and a fake one looks like. Some of them are really good, I will say that. But just think about those things. Like, okay, would my boss be calling me, asking me these questions? Is this something normal? Would my manager ask me to take money out of the business and deliver somewhere at 3:00 in the morning? Those are things that you want to think about. And then verify. Verify who you're talking to. If you think you're talking to your boss or you think you're talking to the bank, hang up the phone and call the bank back and say, hey, I got a phone call from you. 9 times out of 10, they're going to say, we didn't contact you or we don't send text messages. Or many banks, if they know a scam is going on, they'll put that banner on top of their bank on their page. And it'll say, hey, your fraudsters are impersonating us. If you get a text or phone call from us, hang up and call this number. So those are so that's it. Pause, think, verify. Use that to help mitigate the issue or the risk of being a victim of fraud.
Yes, I think that's a big key. And I have in my notes here that you use that quite often. Think, pause, and verify. I think people they'll think, they'll pause, but they don't do the extra step and verify because they become intrigued by what's being said. As you said, they prey on desperation, they prey on anxiousness, and it makes you feel like, oh, I've been looking for this opportunity for a long time, especially being long-term unemployment, 6 months or more, or even 3 months could be a long time for that person. And it can make you feel like maybe this is it, or I'm willing. I've heard people say, I was willing to take the chance. I was going, oh boy, that's gonna be a pretty costly chance. It's better to go play the lottery at that particular. But
That's exactly, you hit it right on the head. That risk versus rewards.
yeah,
It's risky, but if it's true, I want to be good. My whole thing, if it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. If someone's telling you, hey, you can make $10,000 stay working at home. If you can make $10,000 working at home, everyone have that job, and that job wouldn't be posted anywhere.
that absolute. Or you only have to work 4 hours a month to get $10,000 of system. Whoa. And people end up falling into that trap. That's where I'm going to get you out of here from. If people want to know more about your company or you, how should they contact?
So, of course, you can find me on LinkedIn under Marc Evans LV on LinkedIn. Look me up. Or you can go to my company's LinkedIn page, Fraud Hero, or you can go to my webpage, actually, www.fraudhero.com. And you can send me an email if you're interested. If you want to get training for your business, I do various types of training, especially social engineering. If you want to learn about credit card fraud, I do need to have check fraud where you don't want to become a victim, where you don't want your business to become a victim. We'll definitely here for that. Embezzlements. But yeah, you can definitely reach out. fraudhero.com is the best place to do that, or LinkedIn.
Marc, I appreciate you spending time with us here, the Voice of Job Seekers. And the job scan report, you can find the job scan report on Substack only, where it's going to be released first here in time. Appreciate it. Thank you very much for spending time with us here.
Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much.